Reshaping either a 2D shape or 3D object is almost always done at the sub-object level. This video will demonstrate some of the options you'll have when wanting to move, rotate, or scale the smaller sub-object parts. With the front view full screen, let's create a donut at the middle of our crosshairs. To get to our sub-object commands, we'll right-click on the donut, then convert to an editable spline. Now, if wanting to, you could also simply add the Edit Spline modifier. In the stack, let's go ahead and open up the entry Editable Spline. Let's start by working at the vertex level. Once a vertex has been selected, you can right-click to activate your transformation commands. With the gizmo now visible on the screen, I'll move the vertex from side to side. You can also very easily move multiple vertices all at the same time. Here, I'll window 2, then move them around. You can also leave a vertex where it is, but change the shape of the segment that goes into and out of that vertex. Having selected a vertex, you'll see the handles that stretch out to both sides. I'll grab the left-hand handle, moving it up and down. If working on 2 or more vertices and attempting to move their handles, watch what happens. I'll start at the top of the donut, grabbing all 4 vertices straight down the middle. With those now selected, I'll drop down to the 3rd set of handles and move them. Notice that even though I have multiple vertices selected, only one set of handles is actually reacting. I can change that over on the right by activating Lock Handles. Going back and moving the same handle again now works on all 4. Let's go back to the right and turn Lock Handles off. When working specifically on a 2D shape, you actually have a choice between 4 different types of vertices. You can access those types by right-clicking, then looking on the upper left-hand square. Your choices are Smooth, Corner, Bezier, and Bezier Corner. Let's change over to a Smooth Vertex. A smooth vertex is designed to create a smooth transition in the segments that meet at that point. So by moving the vert around, you'll see that very thing happening. Right-clicking and changing to a corner vertex will yield a different result. This time, the segments that meet at the vertex come to more of a corner. Move that around and see how that looks different. The corner vertex creates a much sharper transition from one segment to the next. Another vertex type choice we have is one called Bezier. Let's right-click and activate that. The Bezier vertex provides you with a set of handles. Those handles actually called Bezier handles. Grabbing one of the handles and moving it, as we saw before, will keep the vertex where it is on the screen and change the shape of the segments that go into and out of that vertex. The handles can be both moved side to side and lengthened and shortened, all depending on what you'd like to do with the shape of the segments. Let's right-click one more time, this time choosing Bezier Corner. The Bezier Corner also gives you the Bezier handles. But watch what happens this time when moving one of the handles. Where in which the Bezier type of vertex gave you control over both handles, the Bezier corner will change the location of only the handle you grab. In essence, giving you an opportunity to create a corner where the vertex meets at the segments. Let's go back to a Bezier vert real quick. If you hold down the Shift key while moving the Bezier handles, the Bezier vertex will automatically convert to a Bezier corner. Let's take that vertex back to the Bezier type. Let's now see what we can do at the segment level. Now we could click on the segment entry in the stack or simply use the icons directly below that. Clicking directly on one of the lines that connects the vertices together, a segment will now allow you to move that around. Holding down the Control key would enable you to select additional segments, then moving them as a group. Segments can also be easily rotated or scaled. Let's drop down to the spline level and see what's happening there. This time I'll use the keyboard shortcut for spline selection, the number 3. Now remember, you've got to use the numbers at the top of your keyboard, not in the number pad on the right-hand side. Let's now select the inside ring as a spline. That spline can now be moved around, scaled, or rotated as needed. You can also just as easily manipulate the outside ring as a spline. Let's do that. Here I'll scale it outward horizontally, then rotate it to the side. Back at the top level, we can then move the entire shape around. To get out a sub-object, I can do a couple different things. Either click on the name Editable Spline on the stack, or simply right-click on the screen and in the upper left-hand square choose Top Level. I'll do the latter. Now, this same level of control is also available when working on 3D objects. With the spline now out of sub-object level, let's go ahead and hit Delete. Remember, you can't be in the sub-object level of one thing and still be able to select something else. Let's now take our viewports back to 4 with the Alt-W shortcut. Now once we've done that, let's go back to the command panel and we'll make a sphere in our top view. To better center things up, once you have it on the screen, hit Shift-Control-Z. Let's also add a few additional segments to the sphere in the Modify column. We'll take the segment count to 50. Okay, with currently not having any way of getting down to the subobject level, we've got a couple choices. We can either add a modifier or we can simply convert down. I'm going to right-click on the screen, go down to Convert To, then Convert to an editable poly. You could also choose Editable Mesh if you like. Once you've done that, go ahead and open up the editable entry in the stack by clicking on the plus sign to the left of its name. Let's activate Vertex mode. In the front view, why don't we go ahead and select a couple rows of the vertices on top of the sphere, we'll hold down the Control key and we'll get the same number on the bottom. When you make your selection, you'll notice the vertices turn red in color. Now activate the Move command and move them around. What you're basically transforming are the vertices you have selected and what directly connect to those verts. Try scaling those up and down. As with each of my moves, I'll cancel out before committing. Let's play around with a few edges. Now to activate the edge mode, I could simply click in the stack, but this time around under the selection category, I'll click on the icon. Now back in the front view, I'll drag a window around several rows of edges. Let's take it on back to the Move command and move them around. Again, you're basically controlling what you have selected and what connect directly to that selection. Let's see what happens if we try to scale these. You can go one way at a time, or scaling in a couple different directions simultaneously. Edges can also be rotated. We'll try that. This time to activate the command, I'll tap the 4 key on the keyboard. Then window select around the top 3/4 of the ball in the front view. Now let's see what this would look like if we scaled them down. With that, we could call this a space capsule maybe, but if we moved them further down, it'd even look like a ball within a bowl. I'll go ahead and undo both those transformations by simply hitting Control-Z a couple times. This time around, let's go to the bottom of the ball, selecting only 2 rows. With those now selected, I'll zoom back a ways by rolling my mouse, then move those down. So it gives it kind of the look of a microphone. Let's now take the polygons that we have selected and scale them just a little more going up and down. That'll flatten out the bottom of our mic. Now, no matter what the shape is of the 3D object you're working on, you're going to find the same choices down at the subobject level. Let's reset our scene, then take our perspective view full screen. I'll head to the Application button in the upper left-hand corner, choosing Reset. When it asks me to save, I'll say no, and when it asks me to reset, I'll go ahead and answer yes. Now we can go full view on our perspective window. This time around, let's activate the Box command, change it to the Cube option, and draw one in the middle of the grid. Why don't we also change the wireframe color to maybe something like light blue? Then, so I can center the box within the view, I'll type Z. Okay, back in the modifier stack, again you'll notice no subobject level. So let's right-click on our cube, converting to an editable poly. Let's go ahead and open up the editable poly entry in the stack, getting down to the vertex level. Now I'm going to carefully select the vertex that makes up the top front point on our box. With it selected, it'll turn red. Let's now see what happens if we move that around. I'll first go up and down. Then I'll transform it left and right. Wherever the vertex goes, so does the geometry connected to it. Let's instead try a few things at the edge level. This time again I'll use the icons down below. I'll select the top right edge. It should turn red once it's been selected. With the Move gizmo in place, let's move that edge up and down. Now you can also rotate edges. Let's try that. For this one, I'll grab the blue ring, and back and forth we go. Let's also see how that would work if we instead lock down to the green ring on our gizmo. Scaling, well, let's go ahead and try that. I'll grab the red stick, then proceed to scale. As far as working at the polygon level, well, let's try a couple things there. I'll right-click and activate the polygon selection. Once I've done that, I'll select the polygon on the top of our box. Let's try moving this around. I'll grab the red stick going one way, grab the green stick go another, and then finally lock myself down to the Z or blue stick, moving it up and down. Polygons can just as easily be rotated. Let's activate that. Let's first try the red ring, then the green, and then the blue. If wanting to scale, that too can easily be done. Now scaling the poly can be done either one way at a time or both directions by filling in the gold triangle. I'll leave that smaller, select the polygon on the right side, then scale that a little bit thinner. So that should give you some ideas as to what you can do down at the subobject level. These techniques are at the core of how you'll typically reshape both your 2D shapes and 3D objects. So practice them up. They'll come in handy on your next project.